Hello and welcome to the Avid Media Composer part 7 of the tutorial, and in this part I just want to show how to apply transitions to audio and video in your timeline. So we've got some clips on our timeline right now, and there's a couple of sequences, a couple of clips there to create a sequence. If we want to apply transitions to our audio and video, Avid has one way of doing this, and the way to access this is if you go to your timeline panel up here, you'll find the quick transition tool here. It kind of looks like a gradiated window, so it goes from black to white and it's just a square box. So in order to apply a transition to your timeline, you have to drag your position indicator over a section of clip that has a cut between them. In this case, this one does here, so let's just do that there. And then you click on the quick transition tool there, and the quick transition box comes up. And basically from this point, you can nominate what you would like in Avid to apply a transition to. So in this case, you can apply it to video track and audio tracks all at once together, or if you only want specific audio or video tracks applied, you can select or deselect as you wish. So for the purposes of this, let's just do let's just apply it to the video. So we've got this selected. So under the the box here, we can choose our different types of dissolves. So let's just click film dissolve for a nice smooth transition. And then we can choose our position, so this directly relates to this bar down here, and that basically enables us control over where we want the transitions to start between the two clips we are blending to and from. So we can have it, there are presets already here, so centered on cut, so we can try one ending on cut, which moves it here, centered on cut, which blends the transitions between the two clips, or starting on the next cut. And then you can do a custom one, which comes automatically live anyway if we just drag our transition tool, and we can extend that using the mouse any which way we like, or we can enter values in here to create our own transitions. So if we put a value of 60 frames, that's the duration of the cut, and then maybe have that cut in the middle, so 30 frames. We now have a center cut there, for instance. And then we have a box down here for target drive. And basically, like we mentioned earlier in the other tutorials, Avid likes to generally transcode everything it does before you preview it in your timeline. So that goes for how it transfers and transcodes video from QuickTime, for instance, like we have here, into Avid DNX HD. It also does the same with audio into an MXF file that Avid likes to read, and it also does the same with dissolves, which is also very important to bear in mind. Basically, the reason why it wants to transcode before you apply it is it prefers, so once you've transcoded it, it applies it to the timeline, the dissolve will play back smoothly. In other editors like Premiere, sometimes with certain dissolves, it's using a lot of CPU memory and resources, so sometimes you do get some lag if the source file resolution is particularly large. So that's something to bear in mind. So that's why we have these two options here. You can choose just to add, in which case the CPU will do all the rendering when it plays back the transition, or you can add and render. So like link and import in the source browser that we found, this is pretty much the same principle here. For the purposes of this, so let's just click add and render so you can see what the dialog box looks like. So it's going to create a video effect and apply it directly to the transition when it's done. So let's zoom out and you can see the effect's been applied. So if we play over it, you'll see the dissolve happen. So obviously in that case, I think the dissolve's probably a bit too long, but you get the idea. If we want to revisit it and make it shorter, we click on our quick transition tool to come back to it, and we can effect changes to it that way. You will have to re-render it again, or just add, so let's just re-render that just to get it out of the way. There we go. So that's slightly better as a transition. Probably not perfect for this piece, but it works for the purposes of the demonstration, I believe. And actually, I've only just noticed that the audio tracks have been applied. So one good thing to bear in mind if this happens, you can do this. So let's just deselect our video. If we decide we don't want this transition, you can find the remove effect icon at the top of your timeline panel. So if we click on that, but make sure your position indicator here is hovered directly over your transitions, and we zoom in. As long as it's roughly approximately over there, that's fine. So if we click that, it will now delete those transitions that I accidentally applied to the audio. So we've got that, and we know that because we've only selected the audio for deletion. So if we want to go back and fine tune it further, just make sure the audio tracks and the video track is enabled. So that's what happens. So just bear in mind that when you do it, and then add and render. Then play it back. So that is how you do transitions. So it kind of works quite globally. So the transitions also apply to the sound. So when you do your sound design, your transitions work in the same way. The only tip I would give for applying transitions to audio is, unless you have audio laid on one on top of each other, if you're only working with a couple of tracks, it's nice to actually blend your sound together. So having having transitions that go between an audio clip into another one is probably the best way, rather than having them start either on the extreme left or right of your timeline of your clip change. So having them in the middle will make for a much better sound, but we'll talk a bit more about that when we do a tutorial on sound. But thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you later again. Take care. Bye bye.